Hi everyone, it's Charissa at Small and Scrappy with a process video for Peartree Cutfiles. This is for one of the birthday challenges to use a coloured edge and a sparkly embellishment. And I'm using the Let's Eat Cake cut file from the August release along with the Leafy Borders cut file, which is an older one. I'm documenting a wedding photo today, which funnily enough is from just after we'd cut our cake, and quite a large chunk fell off, and I was more interested in eating that than my new husband, so it's quite a funny photo, and obviously perfect for that title cut file. So I'm starting with this gorgeous paper from Vicky Bouton's Fernwood collection. I've used this quite a bit in my wedding scrapbooking so far, and I've bought up several sheets of it. I think I've had 4 or 5 of it in total, which is more than I've had of any paper ever, because I just want to keep the theme consistent. So that's my main base, and I've also cut the offset for the title off out of that. As you can see, there's a bit of a hole in the paper, and that's all cut already, just so it's all accessible while I was filming. So I printed my photo in A4. I actually ended up printing 3 different versions of it. One in portrait in black and white, then this one in black and white, and then I decided I did want the colour after all. So I've got a couple of spares to put in frames and display. And I'm just trimming off the edges. Unfortunately, I couldn't get my printer to print borderless in A4, but I quite like the thin white border still. I usually use that on smaller sizes. And I'm just marking on the background there where the photo sits, because I am planning to gut the paper. As I said, it's been one of my absolute favourites recently, so I do not want to waste it. But I've still left a nice wide border to make sure I've got enough space to adhere the photo and that piece of white card, which is going to make up the top of the layout. Last thing I want is for them to not have enough sticking power and to be a bit flimsy. So yeah, that's a nice big chunk of paper saved. I will always try and gut papers if I can. And here I am, just sticking all the double-sided tape on there. I've used a wider double-sided tape rather than my ATG, just because I want to make sure it was definitely stuck down. As I say, especially where we've saved that photo, saved the paper from the middle there, and there's a little bit less surface for it to stick to. So skipping ahead a minute or two, because we all know what sticking down tape looks like. I wanted to leave this bit in because this is a trick that I use quite a lot, especially if I'm sticking down larger elements. I don't peel off the entire backing of the tape, but I just sort of fold back the ends so that they can poke out from between the photo or the layers. And I can line it up and sort of tack it down in the corners and make sure it's lined up precisely before I go taking all the tape off. We've all been there where we've stuck something down and it's a bit wonky and we've got to try and lift it up ever so carefully without ripping the paper or the photo. And there you can see I'm just pulling the tape out by those ends that I've left folded over, and the same on the back, where I had a few rows of it. I had access through that part that I gutted. And what I was doing with that paper there was just using it as a clean surface so I could put some pressure on the sticky parts there. And before I stick down this bit of white card, I'm just distressing the edge. I do love distressed edges, and this is also going to be one of my coloured edges. So I'm just colouring that with a gold ink pad. It's not an expensive one, it's just from Hobbycraft. I only really use it for that sort of thing. But yes, that's just given that little bit more interest and colour to that edge, and I think it also adds to the distressing. I will often distress edges with ink as well as with scissors. I'm just using my ATG gun on the top of the photo there for adhering, because it's quite a tight measurement, that strip of card. It's left over from where I've trimmed down a piece to use as an A4 layout, which obviously I do scrap in that size most of the time now, so I have a lot of these size pieces of card lying around, and I'm very pleased that I got to use one. But it had to be positioned very exactly, and it couldn't be overlapping the photo too much, because then there would be too big a gap at the top, and it also would have covered part of my husband's head. So that's all stuck down now, with the coloured edge with the gold ink, and also of course the pattern paper border makes a coloured edge. It's one of the easiest ways to do a coloured edge, and something I like to do quite a lot. So I'm just working on the title cut file now, and I was experimenting a little with my Distress Oxide Evergreen Bough there, wondering if I should use that as a bit of mixed media on the file. It's not quite the right shade, and I felt it clashed a bit too much with the pattern paper, so I've gone with some Silver Vicky Bouton paint, and I'm just colouring in the edge of the cake word there. It's very subtle, but it does give it a little bit more interest in the final piece, and it's another way to do a coloured edge. I do end up changing paintbrushes here because I realise the top parts of the letters I've got to be a bit more precise, and the brush I was using was not suitable for that. So yeah, just colouring those bits in very carefully so it doesn't go too much onto the eat word. And peeling that off. I've done it on a bit of plastic just to avoid some of the mess on my desk. As you can see, I've not done very well with that in the past because it's a state, but it meant I could lift it away carefully and keep it away from my layout while it was drying. So I'm coming back in with the Leafy Borders cut files there. They have been in my on my to-use list for a long time, and I knew I was going to end up using some of them in my wedding album. It was a barn wedding, and we had lots of sort of woodlandy themed features, so the Leafy Borders files were perfect for that. So I've cut two of the same one in a smaller size, and I've just put them either side of the line there across the layout between the photo and the white card. I did also cut one of the other patterns, but I don't end up using that on this layout. So I'm just having a play around and positioning everything. Of course, this there's not much to the layout in terms of the background and the papers because the photo takes up so much space, because I want to show it off because it's a great photo. But I'm just coming in with my sparkly embellishments, which of course I had to go for my favourite Peartree pieces. I absolutely love these, and I've built up quite a stash, especially of hearts like I've got here and stars. So I'm just picking out a few of the glittery felt hearts in silver and white. I've also popped in a few wood veneer embellishments from my stash. I had a couple of wedding themed ones, so I put in a cake and a couple of champagne glasses. I did toy with the idea of putting one of my leafy sprig ones in there as well to form the visual triangle, but I realised I've kind of already got that because our cake topper in the photo is wood veneer, so that already ties in quite nicely. So I spend quite a lot of time faffing with these Peartree pieces and also the sequins I brought in as another sparkly embellishment. And they don't end up in this laid out in this way in the end, and I bring in some of the darker grey ones that are lying around at the top, and also the plain felt, so they do end up looking a bit different to how they do here, but I've cut out quite a lot of the faffing because that was the bulk of my time making this layout, and nobody needs to sit and watch that for 2 hours. So yeah, just playing around, seeing where all those sequins should go. And I've used, I think this mix is from the Pink Paisley Indigo and Ivy collection, if I remember correctly. So that's quite a few years old, but obviously the sequins are an easy generic item to have around in your stash. So I've picked out the gold ones and the sort of iridescent smaller ones as well. They kind of look pink on the white card. But I'm just throwing a few of those around. There were also navy ones in the mix, but I didn't want to add in another colour to the layout. Okay, so I've taken all the sequins and embellishments away for now, just while I stick down the cut files. As you can see there, for a second I play with including that other leafy border file, but again I decide not to include it this time. So I'm bringing back the Let's Eat cake, and that's now dry, and you can just about see the silver shine on the cake word. I think it's at this point that I realise, or just in a second, I realise I've not got to the middle of the A, so I do find that and paint it as well once I've stuck the main title down. It's slightly fiddly work getting the glue on the edge of the cake word there, just where it's so thin, and I do end up smudging a bit of the glue on the offset there, but it doesn't look too bad in the end. I've also taken a lot of care just to make sure the again where the lines are a bit thin, just to make sure that it's lined up properly and that there's an equal offset showing all over. And I just took a Polly Pocket there, just a piece of plastic again, as a clean surface to rub over and make sure that the file was adhered down properly. And yeah, I've just found the middle of the A, so I'm painting that silver to stick down there. I do end up leaving the letters unfilled. Of course, I have the negatives just there. I'm using that to line up the center, but I decide to leave them open in the end to show through that beautiful paper from Fernwood. And here I am just coming in with the glue again and adhering the leafy borders. Again, it's a very delicate file, so I've been very precise. I've not put glue all over because it would have spilled out, just in a few key spots, especially at the edge, to make sure it was stuck down properly. I toy with the idea of painting that top copy of the leafy border to help it pop out against the white a bit more, but I don't end up doing that, and I think it works in the plain white. It's a bit difficult to see on photos in the end, but it works. And coming back in again with my sparkly embellishments, my sequins and my pear tree pieces. So again, still quite a bit of fiddling at this stage, but they're much closer to where they end up being. And I do shortly bring in those darker ones, as I was saying earlier. I've used again quite a few of these in my other wedding layouts in various mixes. I don't quite remember which two mixes I've got here. I think the one with the rose gold and the beige colours is rose tinted spectacles, but I'm not sure of the grey mix. And there I am, just starting to include some of the plain felt hearts as well, just for a little bit of extra interest and contrast to the sparkly ones, although they are obviously the focus and the prompt for the challenge that I am doing this for. Okay, so there's a little bit more of that, but I again cut that out, and here is the final layout with everything stuck down. You'll see I've also added some fussy cut flowers. Those are from an Echo Park Coffee and Friends paper, and they're another item which I've featured quite a lot in my wedding scrapbooks. Scrapbook layouts, despite only having one sheet of it. I'm trying to make it last. But I hope you enjoyed watching. Pop along to the Peartree Cutfiles Facebook group to take part in the birthday challenges. They're open until the end of August, so you've still got a few days. Yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Bye.